Assalamualaikum guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel MAATV. Today we're diving into a massive global pressure point, the Strait of Hormuz. Did you know nearly 84% of the oil that passes through this narrow stretch of water is headed straight for Asia? That's right, countries like China, India, South Korea, Japan all heavily depend on it. If tensions rise and Iran decides to block this route in response to US strikes on its nuclear sites, the world could face an energy earthquake. Let's break it all down, what's happening, why it matters, and how it could impact you and me. Every single day, around 14.2 million barrels of crude oil and 5.9 million barrels of other petroleum products pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That's about 20% of the world's oil supply, all funneled through a space just 21 miles wide. Oil from major players like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, and Iran almost entirely depend on this route. Let's zoom in on Asia, the main destination for this vital oil flow. China alone imported 5.4 million barrels per day via Hormuz in early 2025. Saudi Arabia is China's number 2 supplier, sending 1.6 million barrels daily. And surprisingly, over 90% of Iran's oil exports go to China. Even after a dip in April, China still took in 1.3 million barrels of Iranian oil daily. India imported 2.1 million barrels a day through the strait in Q1 2025. Around 53% of its oil came from the Middle East. While India has increased imports from Russia recently, officials remain on alert. India's oil minister recently said, "We've diversified our sources. A large volume no longer passes through Hormuz, but we're monitoring the situation very closely." Korea is heavily dependent, importing 1.7 million barrels per day, with 68% of that through Hormuz. Saudi Arabia is its top supplier. The government says there are no disruptions yet, but they're ready. South Korea has a strategic oil reserve covering 200 days of supply. Japan brings in 1.6 million barrels per day via Hormuz. An eye-opening 95% of Japan's crude oil comes from the Middle East. Japanese shipping firms are now trying to reduce the time their tankers spend in the Gulf, just in case things escalate. Another 2 million barrels daily go to countries like Thailand and the Philippines. Even Europe and the US receive a smaller share, 0.5 and 0.4 million barrels respectively. Can Asia just get oil from somewhere else? Well, not that easy. Yes, oil inventories are high, and OPEC Plus or US shale producers could fill in the gap temporarily. But here's the catch. A full closure of the strait would still cut off access to a huge part of this spare capacity. Some countries have limited workarounds. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have pipelines to bypass Hormuz, but they can only move 2.6 million barrels a day, not nearly enough. Iran's Gorjask pipeline to the Gulf of Oman has a max capacity of 300,000 barrels per day, and it's currently inactive. So what's the big picture? The Strait of Hormuz isn't just a stretch of water. It's a global lifeline, especially for energy-hungry economies in Asia. Any conflict here, especially involving Iran and the US, could ripple across fuel prices, inflation, and even daily life for billions of people. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on global affairs that truly matter. Drop a comment below. Do you think a conflict at the Strait of Hormuz is likely, or just geopolitical posturing? Until next time, stay aware, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.